strengthen our preparedness faster and better, to invest more and to invest smarter. On the economic front, we agreed to expand our trade flows and promote our economic security. Thanks to the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, since 2017, bilateral trades in goods and services has surged by 71%, demonstrating the tangible benefits of our free trade agreement for citizens and business alike. CETA belongs to a new generation of trade deals. It protects workers, preserves the environment, and safeguards our trademarks. Now, we are working on expanding this relationship and broadening our cooperation. Our new joint agenda will allow us to work more closely in the fields of digital trade, energy security, labour mobility, and the supply of critical raw materials. We will join forces in the global race for artificial intelligence and other breakthrough technologies. And we will also foster people-to-people ties and promote exchanges in education and innovation while firmly defending academic freedom. Together, we will fight climate change. Global problems require global collaboration, and the European Union and Canada can rely on each other. Our prosperity is interlinked, and together we are stronger. The summit could not be more timely. After the G7 in Kananaskis, the day before NATO summit, and the week of the European Council will discuss Europe in the world. Together, we continue to uphold the values that unite us. At a time when the rules-based international order is under pressure, when multilateralism is under attack, the European Union and Canada stand out as responsible, predictable, and reliable partners. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam President.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Antonio. Prime Minister, dear Mark, at our last summit, it was an honor to visit St. John's, Newfoundland, which has a very special place in my heart because this is the place where my husband landed at the 9/11 attacks. And it was a time where my husband and later on me, we felt the warmth and the hospitality of the people of Newfoundland firsthand. Now, dear Mark, I've seen the beauty of Alberta in Kananaskis. You have indeed a vast country, and I'm happy to see more of it. Same goes for you, Antonio. So we'll be back, and we're very curious to see where you will lead us to, perhaps to the Arctic, which is so important to both of us, and where we have been so clear about the EU support to our Greenlandic partners. Dear Mark, you took the helm of the G7 presidency in challenging times, and you delivered. You brought countries together at a moment when unity is more vital than ever. You helped bring focus to pressing issues, encouraged frank exchange, and you said at this moment, we have to turn the many challenges into change. That is what we are doing today as we meet here in Brussels. As the saying goes, hard times reveal true friends. In these challenging times, we're taking huge steps forward to deepen our strategic partnership. And let me start with defence. Canada and the European Union have been working closely on this for years, both bilaterally and in NATO. Canada has been leading NATO's enhanced forward presence in Latvia since 2014. You're making Europe's eastern flank stronger and safer. And today we're stepping up our cooperation. As you said, we signed a security and defence partnership. It will strengthen Canada's role in Europe's rapidly evolving defence architecture. And it's just the beginning. We will now swiftly launch talks on Canada's access to a joint military procurement instrument. We call it SAFE. It's 150 billion euros. And together we will define where our cooperation can have the most value added and where we should channel joint investments. It will be good for our industries, it will be good for our people, and it will be good for the transatlantic security too. And of course it will be good for our continued support to Ukraine, because the more we invest in the highly innovative Ukrainian industry, the more the industry will be capable and the better Ukraine can defend itself. Dear Mark, Canada has shown incredible generosity to Ukraine, training almost 45,000 troops, welcoming the refugees. Today, Ukraine needs our support more than ever, and you made it clear in Kananaskis last week. We are determined to explore further sanctions to maximize pressure on Russia to come to the negotiation table. So far, the European Union and its member states have mobilized almost 150 billion euros. The friends of Ukraine, all of us, we must now plan for more support for 2026 and beyond. And of course, our focus is turned to the Ukrainian Recovery Conference in Rome in July. And as a key member of our donor platform, Canada is contributing significant financial support to Ukraine, crucial assistance for reconstruction projects, as well as invaluable technical assistance. In Kananaskis, we also discussed the importance of open, stable, and free trade among partners. It's a powerful foundation of our prosperity. CETA is our shared success story that illustrates this perfectly. And indeed, Antonio, you mentioned the 17% increase in trade since 2017 in numbers. It is, in 2023 alone, total trade reached an impressive 123 billion euros. And thanks to CETA, the EU's GDP grew by 3.2 billion, while Canada sees a 1.3 billion euro boost each year. So CETA stands as a strong symbol of the power of free and fair trade. I must say 98% of our tariffs line are zero. I repeated, zero. We know that the ratification process is still ongoing, but we are committed to get this done. That brings me to our economic security. Critical raw materials are at the heart of this effort. Canada is uniquely positioned with your unique resources. 90% of your mineral output is exported. That is music in our ears. And the European Union is, of course, proud to be the second largest customer. We want to deepen our cooperation with Canada by reinforcing our strategic partnership on raw materials. But our ambition goes far beyond that. That's why I'm pleased that we've agreed to launch the EU-Canada Industrial Policy Dialogue. That is a forum that will provide an opportunity for business leaders, government ministers, and commissioners from the European Commission to meet so that they can explore first-hand ways to strengthen our transatlantic supply chains in critical sectors, for example, sectors like clean technologies. Finally, a word on tech and innovation. We're home to world-class talent on both sides of the Atlantic. They are already working via Horizon Europe, the world's largest innovation program, but we can and we must do more to stay ahead in the global tech race, especially in digital. Building on CETA's success, I'm pleased that we've now agreed to launch work towards a digital trade agreement. On top of this, I think we should deepen our research cooperation in strategic technologies like quantum. Let's connect our supercomputers. We also want to explore Canada's participation in our AI Factory initiative. And just as in defense, we should align our standards. That means working towards mutual recognition of certifications for AI products, cybersecurity, and beyond. Later this year, we will hold the first EU-Canada Digital Partnership Council. It will give us the opportunity to go further. Dear Mark, thank you again for this great and productive summit. It's not over. We still have the dinner. This is the beginning of a new chapter in a long-standing friendship between Europe and Canada.
Thank you very much, Madame la Présidente, dear Ursula. Thank you, Monsieur le Président, dear Antonio. Be careful what you wish for. The location of the next summit, you mentioned the Arctic, where I'm from. Last time the European Union was at a summit in the Arctic, it was in Iqaluit in February, which was a G7 summit. I remember it vividly. And I remember this. It was the start of the sovereign debt crisis that affected a number of countries in the world. Okay? Think about the difference between then and now. Think about the institutional changes in Europe. Think about what's happening in the world now in terms of the threats financially, the threats geopolitically, and the stability and the resilience of the European Union. And the fact that the European Union is looking to build positively. We're honored that part of this building is with Canada. But it shows how much has changed and how much changed when you stay true to your values and stay focused. Alors, en ce qui concerne la valeur et le mandat du nouveau gouvernement canadien, nous avons un mandat fort qui consiste à diversifier, à renforcer nos partenariats internationaux, à trouver de nouveaux moyens de coopération et de connexion et accroître la sécurité, la prospérité et la stabilité chez nous et à l'étranger, sûrement y compris l'Ukraine. Pour remplir ce mandat, nous nous tenons d'abord à nos alliés les plus fiables, ceux qui partagent à nos valeurs de démocratie, de liberté et de souveraineté. So we're meeting now in that context in, as you just said, in hard times. We might say even a hinge moment of history, a world that's more dangerous and divided, a time where the rules-based international, the global order, rules-based global order is under threat, in a time when technological change is accelerating. And we really have two choices as a jurisdiction, as a country in this circumstance. We can nostalgically look back and long for the old order to somehow return, or we can build a new one with purpose and partnership. And as the most European of the non-European countries, Canada looks first to the European Union to build a better world. And that's what today is about. It's about building on our triple alignment of values, of interests, and of trust built over the years. And so today, this is a new era of cooperation. Our strategic Canada-EU or EU-Canada strategic partnership for the future will build a new and deeper relationship that brings us closer together, from defense to digital, from supply chains to security. We're launching comprehensive negotiations across multiple areas of cooperation, connection, trade, security, digital, climate. And this will make us both more resilient and more prosperous. In many respects, what we're committing to, from our perspective, Canada's perspective, is an ongoing process to an ever closer partnership that will bring our people closer together. Ensemble, le Canada et l'Union européenne pourront créer davantage des opportunités pour les industries et les travailleurs grâce à des échanges plus fréquents et à une meilleure harmonisation des réglementations. Nous pourrons être plus compétitifs grâce à des chaînes d'approvisionnement plus solides et plus stratégiques, et nous lutterons contre les changements climatiques et nous bâtirons des économies plus fortes grâce à une coopération renforcée de nos systèmes de tarification de carbone. We also, in this more dangerous and divided world, must be prepared to defend our people and our values, to secure our sovereignty and protect our allies. And to these ends, we will be in The Hague tomorrow with new commitments, significant commitments to our own and our mutual defense, meeting our NATO targets, further accelerating investments in coming years, but doing so, the EU and Canada with this new security and defense partnership, which provides for this increased cooperation across the full spectrum of security. It will help us deliver on our new requirements for capabilities more rapidly and more effectively. It will help build our industries, secure our jurisdictions. So we are very pleased to be taking this important step towards participation in SAFE as part of Rearm Readiness Europe, bringing shared expertise, joint research and innovation. You know, at its core, final word, Europe was born as a project of peace. And Canada, over the years, over the decades, has served alongside European allies in pursuit of that peace. It's that, in those circumstances, from Vimy to Juno, that the world came to know the value of our strength. But now we're working alongside the European Union to combat climate change, to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, and to protect, amongst other things, academic and scientific freedoms. In these ways, the world knows the strength of our values. And this partnership, which is in defense and security and economics, really builds the strength, builds those strengths in both our jurisdictions and lives up to our values. So with that, thank you for the partnership. It's not over. As you say, we have dinner, and I know in Europe dinners are long and they involve a lot of work, at least when they're in this building. Other dinners in Europe are long and involve very little work, but this one will involve a lot of work, but so be it, because we have a lot of work to do. So with that, I'll hand back for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. We will now open the floor for some questions here in the room. The journalists will have to reach out to the microphones on both sides. Please identify yourselves and the media you work for. Sir.
Good evening. Murray Brewster with CBC News. My question is for Prime Minister Carney. Prime Minister, if you could answer in both French and English, I'd appreciate it. This partnership that you've signed today, and recognizing that there is still some negotiation to do, Europe has its own defense industrial capacity challenges right now, just like Canada does. Can you explain how this particular partnership that you've signed today is going to get military equipment into the hands of the Canadian forces quickly, how it's going to expand Canada's defense industrial base, and how are you going to pay for it?
Yeah. So thank you very much for the question. The first thing, in terms of the challenges / opportunities that exist both for Europe and for Canada, is that we're both embarking on major investments in our defense capacities. We have some complementarities that will allow us both to move more rapidly because we have excess capacity in certain areas. For example, one of the things we need in Canada is just straight munitions. Okay, a very simple thing. Cooperation in aerospace, where there are complementarities both in European leadership, but also some Canadian leadership as well. Complementarities in areas related to, sorry to use the jargon, but the defense industrial pledge, so related defense spending that has dual use or other uses. And President von der Leyen mentioned AI and cyber, those areas which will be incredibly important for defense. So right at the point where both of our jurisdictions need to increase to combat defense threats, we pool our resources, or we can pool much of our resources. We'll be more than the sum of the parts. And as we build up those resources, we can do those in a way that's complementary and mutually reinforcing. One of the ways we can pay for this is the fact that what we will do should be more efficient for both of us, should be more cost-effective for both of us. The second thing is to recognize that if we do this right, we will also be building our overall economic capacity, which will be part of what's self-reinforcing. Et puis, en français, en effet, C'est une question des avantages de travailler ensemble, d'avoir des synergies entre les investissements européens et celles du Canada. C'est le moment où on peut mettre l'avantage, ou prendre l'avantage des différences entre les deux industries. Par exemple, en ce qui concerne le secteur aérospatial, il y a des complémentarités, en effet. Et puis, dans les nouveaux compétences qui seront nécessaires, y compris l'intelligence artificielle et le cyber, la lutte contre le cyber. Encore, il y a des avantages de travailler ensemble et on va le faire. Merci.
Okay, so we'll stay on this side. The next question goes for El País, please.
Hello. This question is for Ms. von der Leyen and Mr. Costa from a European perspective. What can take this agreement for the industry and for the European companies? And, well, one question for Mr. Karni. Do you feel more comfortable in Brussels than in Washington? Thank you.
So, you want to start?
No, please.
The security and defense partnership is very beneficial for both sides because it means joining forces, developing capabilities together. And it's the foundation for Canada. We will discuss basic principles, but to join the investments that we have for joint procurement to boost our military capabilities. We were speaking, for example, about air defense capabilities that are needed in the European Union. We are all part of NATO too, so interoperability plays a large role, and therefore it is important to do these joint procurements not only for the scaling up the industry, because with more scale you can have better, cheaper and faster the results, but also, of course, to improve the interoperability between our troops. The principles are things like reciprocity, so the access to the defense industrial base from our side in Canada, but from Canada's side also in the European Union, or, for example, the security of supply, that in a moment of crisis we can rely on each other, that the supply will continue and will not be cut off. We had the positive experience in COVID that the supply stayed stable on both sides. So these are principles that we will define together, but then the access of Canada to our joint procurement in the European Union is the doors open.
Yes. Well, in terms of relative comfort, well, it's very hot in Washington right now and very humid. I'm sure the dinner will be better, with all due respect to our American friends. It'll be better than it would be in Ottawa. The dinner will be better tonight. Look, I would say in terms of the terms and what we discuss around an economic partnership, we have similar views in terms of the importance of labor standards. We have similar views in terms of addressing sustainability and building sustainability. I think we have similar views in terms of how we develop a true partnership in matters of defense. And I'll add one other point of, I don't want to say this is comfort, but it's effectiveness with respect to Ukraine. The European Union is preparing its 18th sanction package, a very significant package of sanctions. We've just released our latest sanctions, financial sanctions, against Russia, against the Shadow Fleet, against enablers of the Russian regime. We have just committed additional financing to the Ukrainian government and additional military assistance to Ukraine. As President von der Leyen mentioned, we will be participating in the foreign ministers here. We're participating in the reconstruction conference that Italy is leading on behalf of the European Union in a few weeks, because we know, and this is the other element of comfort, that we will stand up and defend these fundamental values international law, territorial integrity, the rights of state, and democracy is represented in Ukraine. So yes, we take comfort from that alignment, and it is a very effective partnership as a consequence. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take a question from the right. The lady in green, please.
Bonsoir, Valérie Gamache de Radio-Canada. Merci de nous accueillir d'abord. Monsieur Carney, si vous pouviez répondre en français et en anglais, Madame von der Leyen, si vous pouviez répondre également à la question. Le secrétaire général de l'OTAN aujourd'hui a affirmé que les frappes américaines en Iran ne violaient aucune loi internationale. Est-ce que c'est aussi votre avis?
Alors, il y a plusieurs aspects de cette question. En ce qui concerne l'Iran, depuis des décennies, l'Iran a essayé de développer des armes nucléaires. Premier point. Deuxièmement, depuis des décennies, l'Iran a exprimé un désir d'éliminer l'État israélien. Depuis des décennies, l'État iranien, selon le Canada, a été et est encore soutient, l'État iranien soutient le terrorisme. Et le corps des gardiens de la révolution islamique est sur la liste des organisations terroristes au Canada. Ce sont des violations des lois internationales. In English, for years, for decades really, Iran has pursued nuclear weapons. Well, Iran has expressed a desire to eliminate the state of Israel, where the state of Iran has been a sponsor of terrorism, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and beyond. And where at least in our opinion, Canada has listed the Iranian Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organization, active terrorist organization. These are violations of international law. These are the ones we looked at. Thank you.
Bien, si vous me permettez.
En français.
Back to basics, en français. Tout d'abord, on est pour défendre le droit international, soit en Ukraine, soit dans le Moyen-Orient. Donc la loi internationale, c'est la base des relations entre les États et les peuples. Donc on doit tenir toujours de respect pour le droit international. Deuxièmement, on doit s'engager pour assurer le respect pour les traités de non-prolifération des armes nucléaires. Et donc l'Iran ne doit jamais avoir une arme nucléaire et on doit s'engager parce que l'Iran respecte la loi internationale, notamment le traité de non-prolifération des armes nucléaires. Troisièmement, on doit se bâtir pour la paix. La paix, évidemment, ça veut dire qu'il faut éviter l'escalade. Il faut contenir les actions militaires et il faut ouvrir un espace pour le dialogue et pour la diplomatie. Parce que c'est seulement comme ça qu'on peut arriver à une paix durable dans le Moyen-Orient. Évidemment, on parle maintenant d'Iran. C'est ce qui est à l'heure du jour. Mais il ne faut pas oublier que le Moyen-Orient, ce n'est pas seulement l'Iran. Il ne faut jamais oublier qu'on aura seulement une paix durable dans le Moyen-Orient si on arrive à avoir effectivement une solution de deux États avec une paix entre Israël et la Palestine. Et dans le court terme, il faut qu'Israël accepte le cessez-le-feu immédiat à Gaza, arrête ses actions illégales dans la Cisjordanie et qu'ouvre les portes des frontières pour l'aide humanitaire et évidemment que le Hamas libère immédiatement tous les otages qui restent dans les mains des Hamas. Donc, c'est dans ces 4 principes fondamentaux qu'on doit regarder la question du Moyen-Orient et notamment les questions les tensions qui existent maintenant avec l'Iran.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Kim.
Thank you. Kim McCrail from the Wall Street Journal. I'm turning us to trade, if you don't mind. A question for President von der Leyen to begin with. On Friday, the U.S. Trade Representative's Office circulated a document it referred to as a draft agreement on reciprocal trade. It includes concessions on the Digital Markets Act, on the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, and methane rules. I'd like to know from you, is the EU prepared to sign on to a deal with the U.S. that includes changes to existing regulations? And I also have one trade-related for Prime Minister Carney. What options is Canada considering besides higher tariffs on U.S. steel and aluminum if the U.S. and Canada don't reach a deal on an economic and security pact by July 21st? Thank you.
So without going into details of the trade negotiations, in general, negotiations are only closed at the moment everything is negotiated. But I'm very clear on some topics that touch the sovereignty of the decision-making process in the European Union. This is for us absolutely untouchable. So we're very clear about that. Of course, we discuss tariff lines. We discuss non-tariff barriers like standards and norms, for example. We discuss strategic purchases. We discuss all these topics, but where it is the sovereign decision-making process in the European Union and its member states that is affected, this is too far.
Okay.
We're getting late, so I'll answer quickly. The first is that, look, what options are we considering? I'll give you an open answer. We'll do what's right for Canada. We're working hard to get a deal, but we'll only accept the right deal with the United States. The right deal is possible, but it's nothing's assured. But what we're going to do, irrespective of the outcome, is we are going to build trading relationships with like-minded partners, reliable partners, partners that are aligned with our values. It begins here, and you see the ambition in this partnership and the scope of ambition, and that's the future of trade. That's the future of trade. The future of trade is digital. The future of trade does take carbon into account. Carbon is trade, right? The future of trade does have this defense cooperation. It is consistent with industrial policy, recognizing that industrial policy amongst allies, we're all going to NATO, but only some of us in NATO are talking about an allied industrial policy that will make us stronger. That's the future of trade, not a narrow discussion on tariffs. Thank you.
All right, that's a wrap. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us. You will find all the materials and outcomes of the summit in the Council website. And well, I wish you all have a nice evening. Thank you.